Call to order the Board of Education meeting for Monday, October 23rd. Please call the roll.
Mr. Dahl?
Here.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Here.
Mr. Schroyer?
Here.
Megan Sparks?
Here.
Dr. Rohr?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Motion for approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Schroyer?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes. Next, building and guest reports. Feel free.
Thank you. So tonight, it's a great opportunity for me to welcome our school resource officers. I'm going to ask them to make their way up to the podium. I've said it many times to the board and to a lot of my colleagues. It's great to have the partnership that we have with the Washington Township Sheriff's Department and with the City of Centerville Police Department. They are a huge resource for us in the community, a huge resource for our school. They are not just police officers, but they do a great job of making relationships, building relationships with our students across the district. So I wanted to welcome them. They're going to have the opportunity to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about where they work and what they do for the district.
So hi, my name is Tracy Summers. I said I would go first because I talk a lot, so that way they have to all go behind me. I'm a Centerville police officer. I've been a Centerville police officer for 24 years. This is my 10th year being in the schools, to the privilege to work with your kids on a daily basis. Not only our first and foremost job is to protect the kids at the school, we're integrated in the schools, teaching and health classes, and we're really a great commodity to have in the schools. Most of the kids know every single one of us on a daily basis because we're in the schools.
Hello, everybody. My name is Gary Fulweiler. I work for the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, and I know a few of you here. It's really nice to be up here and see you all again. Before we do introductions, I just want to let you know that between the three of us in the Sheriff's Office, we share 9 schools in the township proper, so we stay pretty busy. So, yeah, I can't say much more than what Tracy said, but I mean, it's an absolute honor to be able to work with the kids and be in the classrooms. We teach a lot of classes, things like that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Deputy Baker, again with the Sheriff's Office. Really can't say any more than what Officer Summers already said. I've been with the Sheriff's Office almost 11 years, and this is my 3rd year as a school resource officer. And I really enjoy it, working with the kids, building the relationship with them.
Thank you.
I'm Deputy Bowersox. I have been an SRO for all of 5 weeks now. I'm the newbie.
Welcome.
Yes. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to getting to know the staff, students, and parents, in the schools that we serve.
My name is Brad Eschler. This is my 27th year in law enforcement. I'm in the high school with Officer Jason Stam, who's not present. He's driving to a training he has tomorrow. This is starting my 6th year in the schools. Something, enjoyable, something different every day. Get to talk to the kids and everything, see them in the hallways. You get to have a rapport with some of the kids in the schools and everything else is a good thing. So, any questions? All right.
We're going to thank you beyond anything you can imagine, and we're happy to have you guys and gals and women in the school. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, honors.
So for honors this evening, I'm going to ask Mr. Carroll to come forward. He's going to recognize our National Merit Scholars. And students, when your name is called, if you will just stand in front of the board right here in front of us so we can get your picture, and we'll get your certificate once the program is finished tonight, okay?
Well, good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to recognize our National Merit Scholars. It's always a fun night for me. Last October, 1.3 million juniors across the country and 21,000 high schools took the National Merit Scholarship Program qualifying test called the PSAT. Only 50,000 students qualified for recognition in this program, with around 16,000 across the nation earning a semifinalist status. Of those 16,000 students, there will be approximately 7,000 students that will receive scholarships for their undergraduate study. Tonight, we recognize the 27 students from Centerville High School who are the best students being selected for National Merit Commended Scholars and National Merit Semifinalists. Our students are always very busy. I know I saw some kind of screaming in here toward the end, but they're very busy, and so it's hard to get everybody in one place. But we did have a recognition with all their families, a little over a week ago, and it was just incredible to hear them talk about how supportive their peers are and how grateful they were for their experiences at Centerville High School. So at this time, I'm going to first call up our commended scholars and recognize them. And I'm going to read all the names, even though everybody might not be here. We need to give all recognition. We have Connor Anderson, Anthony Argue, Charles Balsam, Jacob Barnes, Alexis Becker, Gus Berry, Alexandra Claflin, Caden Condi, Kate Drabenstadt, Ethan Liu, Alexis Markowski, Brandon O, Benjamin Payton, Kirtan Patel, Huzefa Sadiq, Robert Sidoff, and Allison Wagner. Those are our commended scholars. So congratulations to our commended scholars. We'll have you guys stay up here while we get our semifinalists up, and then I have certificates to pass out after the ceremony here. So our semifinalists include Hameen Bey, Brianna Becker, Evelyn Bowler, Arya Gadre, Sanja Narayanan, Hussein Raja, Shivam Saravanan, Raymond Song, Anthony Yu, and Leah Yu. So congratulations to all our semifinalists. The semifinalists will continue. They've completed a lengthy application. They've received recommendations from their counselors and principals, and we usually find out who the finalists are when we get into the spring. So congratulations to all of our commended scholars and National Merit semifinalists.
Congratulations. Great job. Congratulations. And congratulations to all of you. All right, next on the agenda, public participation. The Board of Education recognizes the value to school governance of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. I will, at each board meeting at which public participation is permitted, shall administer the following rules. The portion of the meeting for the participation of the public shall be limited to 30 minutes. Attendees must register with their intention to participate on a sign-in sheet 30 minutes prior to each meeting. Individuals may not register others to speak, and no participant may speak more than once. Participants must first be recognized by the presiding officer and will be requested to preface their comments by an announcement of their name and whether the participant is a resident or non-resident, and if appropriate, their group affiliation. Each statement made by the participant shall be limited to 3 minutes or less. The board will listen to all who speak. Generally, do not engage in discussion or dialogue at this time. Matters requiring follow-up will usually be directed to the superintendent. And we've got 5 sign-ups tonight. First, Donna. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Donna Jo Campbell, and I have been a resident of the Centerville, Washington Township area for over half of my life. I would greatly appreciate if you do not feel the need to try and guesstimate my age based on that information. While I grew up in upstate New York, I am proud to say I married an elk and am the mother of 2 elk. And the reason I am here today and not currently incarcerated is due in no small part to the numerous Centerville City School staff who have over the years repeatedly kept me from killing my children. I mean, I live with my sons through their whiny, snot-filled elementary school years, their miserable, hormonal, life sucks years, and their holier-than-thou high school years. And I am here to tell you, there is not enough money in the universe to pay this staff. Full disclosure, I am a retired educator, although I did not work for Centerville City Schools. Their loss, I assure you. But as such, I have lived through far too many levy campaigns. I have seen firsthand the positive impact passing a school levy has on a district. Sadly, I have also seen the detrimental effects of a failing levy. If people think taxes will become too high by the passage of Issue 13, they need to keep in mind the huge hit a district reputation takes, property values take, and most important, student learning takes. One last thing. I know folks get angry for constantly having to pay for these damn schools, which is a direct quote from social media. But let me remind you that in 1997, the way schools were funded in this state was ruled unconstitutional by the Ohio Supreme Court, which is something our legislators have never addressed. In other words, for 25 years, the politicians of this state have knowingly been breaking the law. If people want to be angry, they need to be angry at our state representatives for ignoring this issue. They are the ones that should be held accountable. The elected state officials are not doing their job when it comes to funding public education. But I can assure all of you that the people who run Centerville City Schools and work for Centerville City Schools are doing their job. My sons, who actually are successful contributing members of society, are just a small testament of that fact. And let's be honest, the fact that I am currently not sitting on death row for their murders is also a testament to the fact that we have some wonderful educators working for this community who did not give up on my children or on me. Please support Issue 13 for our schools, our community, and our future.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ma?
Hello and good evening. My name is Maha and I'm a resident of Centerville. I'm also the parent of a preschooler at Primary Village South. I remember when I got pregnant and I was living downtown Dayton. I had been there for 10 years and just for some reason immediately I knew that I needed to sell my condo and move back to this community. I don't know how to describe it or explain it, but I love this community. I grew up in this community and it's such a positive environment for children to grow either in the school district or outside of the school district. And I realize now that this community is so strong because of Centerville City Schools. Something that I did not realize as a child, but now as an adult and as a parent of a child in the school system, I absolutely know that. So we've been very, very happy with the education that our daughter has received. I've been blown away by the programming, by the staff, by the faculty. Everybody I've come across is truly a high quality individual, and they are doing everything they can to ensure that my child has the best education. They are empowering her, they're challenging her, and they're supporting her. So I very much appreciate that. I wanted to come here and say thank you to the school board, to the administration, to the faculty, to the staff. You guys do an amazing job, and I am so proud to live in this community and have a child here at Centerville. And I do want to note that there are real-world consequences for voting no for Issue 13. And we are at the beginning of our journey. I'm terrified of the quality of this district and the quality of this community changing. So I'm here to advocate for my child and every other child in this community. And I ask voters and everybody in this community to please vote yes for Issue 13. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul?
Good evening, Paul Sefchak, Washington Township. In regard to the 2024 levy, it's only $17 a month for a house assessed at $100,000, although there are not many homes in the districts that are assessed at $100,000. For me, that translates to $51 a month or an additional $612 a year. Similar to the district, I've incurred increased expenses. For me, it's been the cost of food, transportation, shelter, and medical care. I've watched my retirement savings being eroded by rampant inflation. Like the district, I've seen my income remain relatively flat. Social Security will increase in 2024 by 3.2%, while the inflation rate is currently running 3.7%. The 2024 operating budget is in excess of $120 million, and after a painstaking review by Mr. Wesley and the senior staff, it was determined that there was not 1 cent that could be cut from the budget. Likewise, I talked to my financial advisor, not advisor, my financial person, my wife, and she assured me that there was not 1 cent that could be cut out of our budget. The levy is going to generate $12.9 million. Subtract $1.1 million designated to the PI fund, leaves 11.8 for the general fund. Subtract 10% from the actual operating expenses of the budget. That leaves 90% for salaries and benefits. That leaves $10,800,000 to be used to increase staff salaries and benefits. The levy cycle of every 4 years just happens to coincide with the recycling of a union contract and the funding of a new contract. As to the PI fund, $1.1 million will be added to an already generated amount of $4.5 million to produce a revenue stream of $5.6 million annually. At this month's working session of the school board, 11 projects were designated as priorities for 2024. If the average cost of these projects is $550,000 a project, the expenditure is going to be $5,775,000. While my numbers are guesstimates, I believe the PI fund will be exhausted each year. Our buildings, each building has a priority list for projects for that specific building. When do they get addressed? If we expend it all for 11 projects to our priority this year, what about the other buildings and their priorities? Is it the school board's plan to defer necessary maintenance until the school board comes to the public and says you have to pay for new buildings because these buildings are outmoded and can no longer be sustained, can no longer be maintained? The priorities of this levy are in error. Money needs to go to our aging physical plant and not to ballooning already generous compensation packages for district employees. I will be a no vote, and I suggest that the levy should be rejected by the district taxpayers.
Thank you. Lisa.
Hi, I am Lisa Butel, and I do live in the district. We actually moved to the Dayton area when my oldest was just 6 months old. We chose Centerville. We actually wanted to move here because of the great schools and the reputation of the Park District. And when we were looking at houses, when we would come over on the weekends from Columbus, I actually checked a lot of districts off my list because they couldn't pass a school levy. I knew I was going to have kids, and I knew I wanted them to be in an excellent school system. Fast forward 10 years. That would take us to 2013. I had 3 small children in this district. We failed a levy back to back. So for the people out there who think that Centerville City Schools never fails a levy, please remember what happened in 2013. Back-to-back failures. I watched staff get cut. I watched programs get cut. I watched field trips be eliminated. I had small children in the district who didn't get to go on all the special field trips that everybody else in every other district got to take. Salaries were frozen. There was a point in time, I was working on a PTO project, and teachers were actually complaining in the building that I was in that there wasn't paper. Wasn't paper. These are the things that started to happen. I watched it firsthand. I saw what it did to my kids. It was just really sad. Then fast forward to the beginning of the school year in 2013 when we were going to try for a 3rd time. I attended a PTO meeting and we heard the rumor that there was going to be further cuts in the district, including busing, remember that, if kids lived within a certain radius of a building. I knew I needed to take action and join the committee and work on a levy campaign. So here we are again. We're faced with another request for increased funding. The state absolutely unfairly funds public education. 77% of our public school budget is expected to be raised at the local level. That is not the fault of Centerville City Schools. That comes from the state. I support issue 13 because I don't want to see the cuts again to programs, to staff, to everything here in our district. I want to see funding for these important programs. My kids have benefited from the career education programs in this building. They're state award-winning programs. Some of them are even national award-winning programs. My kids have participated in the wide variety of AP classes in this building. I don't want to see any cuts to those programs. I would ask anyone who feels that Centerville City Schools are on the downhill, please make sure that you understand state report cards first. Please know what a subgroup is. I'm really impressed with all the activities offered here at Centerville City Schools, our award-winning programs, the extracurriculars,
Lisa,
the band
Lisa,
program.
I'm gonna have to cut you off,
Cut me
all
off?
right?
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
We're
So
past
I
the
just
3
want
minutes.
everyone to know that the district makes sure that all learners are cared for, and we need to care for our district. Thanks.
Thank you. Brittany?
Good evening. My name is Brittany McInnes, and I am a Washington Township resident. I am the proud parent of 2 students at Watts Middle School. In 2021, when my husband and I decided to move within the Dayton area, one of the most important factors for us were the school district that our children would attend. Centerville City Schools was on the top of our list. Sorry. We could not be happier that we were able to join the school community. Both of my children have excelled in finding their spark at Watts Middle School. The teachers, intervention specialists, and support staff in the district have been amazing and are always willing to communicate with us. I commend Centerville City Schools for striving to employ top-notch staff who are there for the youngest in our community. The excitement of our daughter finding out that she gets to tackle a challenge of learning another language in the 6th grade and having her passion for art and singing supported and feeling empowered to pursue her interests within the arts speaks to the mission, vision, and values of Centerville City Schools. When our youngest, who is on an IUP, was experiencing an extremely rough time, with his mental health, the relationships he built with the Centerville City staff were instrumental in making it through his days. I have to shout out Mrs. Jackman at John Hall for her wonderful work with our son. To know that our district is not only concerned with academic success, but the whole child is something that I cannot express enough appreciation for. It goes without saying that exemplary staff, teachers, services, and academics at Centerville City Schools offer to all of its students cannot be provided without the proper funding. I am in full support of issue 13, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, that's all the speakers tonight, and I would only encourage anyone that's got questions, wants to know facts, wants to know about finances, wants to know anything else, please contact Mrs. Sauber, our treasurer, or John, our superintendent. All right, next, legislative report. Megan, Ms. Sparks.
There's no report tonight. There's not much going on. I'm watching some bills and attending a webinar tomorrow, so I should have something at least next month. Thank you.
Thanks. Students. Try to keep it under 20 minutes, okay?
Good evening. My name is Kate Wallace. I'm a student board rep, and I'm going to talk to you about one of the things we do called Candy and Comments tonight. So every month, as student board reps, we set up in the back of Central over there by the gym and have a table with candy and encourage students to fill out a survey with concerns, comments, and positive things they have about the school. We take these concerns into account, and then we meet with Mr. Carroll later on to discuss ways that we could improve on those. So last month, we had a few bigger concerns, and we also had a lot of positive things that I'd like to discuss. One that I saw several times on these surveys was student safety and school security. Students felt that it could be improved upon. Now, I just want to make a disclaimer that our school SROs, our principals, our security guards do a wonderful job of keeping us safe. We really appreciate them. We all feel lucky to be in a school where they take their job so seriously. That being said, students in the educational climate that we've grown up in, with some of the safety issues that happen around the world, it's no surprise that students would be concerned about that. So with Mr. Carroll at our meeting, we discussed certain things we could do to try and ameliorate that. We discussed the possibility of adding another set of doors to the athletic entrance, possibly, or just another layer of security guards to check students entering and exiting at lunchtime, at arrival and dismissal. We also discussed that we may begin creating our own ID cards to be checked at those arrivals and dismissals rather than having an outside company doing it, just to kind of streamline that process. I think that it's the small things that we can do to help students feel better, so maybe just talking about it more is also something that we discussed. Another concern that was mentioned several times is a lighter topic. So the school has a program where if a student participates in a sport, they get a PE waiver so that they can fill that requirement for graduation. A lot of our students feel that that should be extended to club sports. Swimming, gymnastics, rowing are only some of the sports that this is not extended to, so students who play club sports at different organizations outside do not get that credit. We empathize with this problem, and we discussed going to, we might have a visit later this year at the state capitol and try and speak at some of the hearings for the Board of Education. And Mr. Carroll expressed that the OHSSA has some pretty strict rules about stuff concerning school sports and participation. So we feel that it would be beneficial if we all went and maybe tried to speak at one of those to get that law changed so that students can use those club sports for credit to make their graduation requirements more efficient. Another concern that was brought up quite a few times was student mental health. Obviously, it's a prevalent issue these days. We talk about it a lot. There's a lot of communication in the school about it. Hope Squad, our crisis counselors all do a great job of helping the students out with that stuff. One thing that, upon meeting with Mr. Carroll again, we did notice is that not a lot of us, including us, are aware that we have actual clinical counselors available to be used with the approval of a parent at the school. So one thing that we want to do just to kind of get that information out there is create some flyers. We plan to go to our school mass communications program to get the word out about that. The radio program, we plan to use that. And then there's also kind of a flyer that hangs up in all the bathrooms that we kind of want to rework, just so students have that information and know that there are resources above the school counselors that they can go to should they need it. Finally, I just want to mention some of the positive things that students were saying, because those are equally as important. Specifically, Mrs. Hilliard and Mrs. Myers. I don't think I can count how many times those names specifically were mentioned as just wonderful people who are there for the students. There are crisis counselors at the school, so I think that it's important to shout them out because they really do make it a more comfortable place for us. Several students noted that the CHS Business Block Program, their credit union, as well as like the ATM, really helps students take charge of their like financial responsibility while they're still in high school. So that was a positive note. Students also expressed a lot. Overwhelmingly, the majority of students, when asked about a positive thing, expressed school spirit. While that's a pretty general term, I think that can be easily included our football games, the hole in the wall, our spirit, or our elk connectors, just things like that that take place around the school every day, do a great job of keeping students involved in the community. This month's Candy and Comments brought a lot of topics to the table that we're really excited about pursuing later. So thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Thomas Garcia. I'm a senior representative, and 2 Fridays ago, Sam and I went to our first Montgomery County Educational Service Center meeting. Each district in the county sends 2 representatives to go to these quarterly meetings, and this year it's Sam and I. And so at these meetings, we discuss a variety of topics. The first being The focus on the Montgomery County future graduate. We discussed this topic with Stacy Schweikart from Lantern Dayton, and her main questions about this was how can we make schools better? How can students succeed? And what do administrators need to know about student experiences? After that, we had a discussion with Brian Stewart, who is the workforce director of the Educational Service Center. He talked about the current dilemma of using new technology in schools, particularly artificial intelligence. Most students at this discussion agree that banning the use of artificial intelligence will set our students back from the rest of the world as this technology develops. Because it is a tool that students can use this as a tool that can help, not one strictly as one that can be used for cheating. He also mentioned that how we currently view AI is how people in the past viewed the development of calculators. Also, we meant in other discussions on like a personal level with representatives from other schools, we found out that some schools have these signing days that some students here do for athletics, but they have this at a wider range for all students to announce their future plans. And it helps make these kids more motivated to announce these future plans and to do better in school. And Sam will talk more about AI.
Hi, I'm Samaria Williams. I'm also a school board representative for us at the Montgomery County Educational Service Center. As Thomas mentioned, there's big talk about how we will integrate AI into our school systems, as it's not something that will ever go away, just like calculators. One of the big talking points was using it as methods of teaching, say students how to make an outline for an essay or how to make a proper presentation for a class, or even for teachers to make outlines for their lesson plans. So it's not all bad is what we're trying to say, is that we can have AI in schools just like how you can have AI in Hollywood while keeping the creative integrity of the individual, if that makes sense. And then that's really all I have on AI. And then like other things to do with our graduation requirements, we talked a lot about our career tech programs and how Thomas mentioned there is a signing day. I know specifically in the Dayton Public School System where they have students who have decided to further their careers in technical aspects like welding, for example. They will have a day where they get to sign their contract with their school and announce it to the school. And I think that'd be a really positive thing to not only highlight that you don't have to go a certain route to be successful in life, but you can also go other ways and equally as good.
Hi, my name is Ashita. I'm also a student on the board, and I'm a senior at Centerville High School. So about 2 weeks ago, the four of us went to a meeting for the Miami Valley Student Board, where we met students from Valley View and other districts that are a part of that board system. There we talked about the different changes taking place from House Bill 33, and those changes took place in the first week of October. I'm going to go over some of those changes briefly. So the first change is that the Department of Education is now named the Department of Education and Workforce. It's also now at the cabinet level agency representing the governor of Ohio. They created a new agency in the department called Children and Youth, and the current powers and duties of the student board are also being split with another department called the Department of Education and Workforce. So essentially we're losing power, and that in the long run is going to result to probably not as good policies or not as beneficial policies, because the people that are here locally know what their local communities need more than the people up higher in the state. So that was, and we also cannot break off from the state because they provide a decent amount of funding for us, so we're going to have to figure out a way to work that out and find a way around that. Another thing we discussed was, like Kate mentioned, going up to the Capitol and speaking at one of the Senate hearings. One topic that we might talk about is the PE waiver, like she mentioned. Another might be CCP and how students have been taking a bit of an advantage of that program. Though CCP is a positive program, it is known to be easier, and it gives students a bit of an unfair GPA boost. Many students have been taking so many CCPs that they don't spend enough time in school, and we've been seeing their learning be impacted by that. Yes, so we talked about those things, and in addition to that, we also talked about how since COVID-19, we've seen a big gap in students' learnings, which is going to take some time to fill, and students requesting that there be more language classes at certain schools and at certain districts. Centerville offers for 3 languages, Spanish, German, and French, but a lot of other school districts do not do that, so we discussed kind of creating a similar setup to the block program and allowing students from different districts to come in to Centerville or other schools that do offer those languages and take the languages that they desire. So our next meeting is going to be on November 11th, where we'll further discuss these issues and further issues that we come across in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Listen, guys, I'm very proud of you. That was a fantastic report. It really was. And for those of you that don't understand the work and effort that our student reps put in, this gives you an idea of how much they're doing, and you know, congratulations, and we appreciate you doing, and we're glad you're part of the board. We really are. Thank you.
Dr. Orr, can I say, I just want to let everyone know that the round table is with West Carrollton, Northmont, Valley View, I don't know why that was so hard for me to say, and ourselves. So what Ashita was reporting on may not necessarily be our district, but the views that are coming out of that group.
But it's because of you guys too, and this board of reps, student reps, that's created many more around this area. You know, you guys were take the Valley's words, but you're the region's leaders. And we're proud of you for that, seriously. Next. I don't know if you could follow that as well, but it was good luck.
You always put me after the best presentations. Good evening, everyone. If you have been here the last couple of months, or if you've tuned in, you know, to the broadcast or the recordings of the meetings, I'm going to repeat some information tonight. I think that's important to be doing, just in light of all the things that are going on with the levy being on the ballot, which we heard a lot about tonight, and then also the property reappraisal as well. And so, to start with, let's just touch base again on the property reappraisal and House Bill 920 and how that impacts the revenue in the district. And understand these slides coming up, they don't have anything to do with issue 13. They're completely set. This is a separate issue. Let's talk about the reappraisal first. So the first question is, what is the property reappraisal? Every 6 years, every district goes through a full reappraisal, and then in between, the 3 years in between, we go through what's called a triennial update, and that's what Montgomery County is experiencing now. And again, this isn't specific to Centerville. This is all of Montgomery County. So a triennial update is really a market update, and so it takes a look at the prior 3 years of sales data, and it basically brings the property values up to what homes have been selling for. There's more to it than that. It's very complex, but in a nutshell, that's what happens. I have been encouraging anybody that I talk to go out to the Montgomery County Auditor's website. It's linked here on the PowerPoint. The page, they have a page specifically dedicated to the property reappraisal, and it has so much good information in it. I'm going to kind of replicate a little bit of that tonight, but it is full of information that is really important for people to understand the process. So how much is Centerville City Schools property value increasing? We have a tentative increase of around 30% across the district, and that's a blended rate of both the residential properties, which is actually about 32%, and the commercial and industrial properties, which is about 23%. I stress that this is tentative because nothing is final until we get word from the auditor in December. So, you know, stay tuned. You know, I'll report that back to you as soon as I have that information, but it will be really close to 30%. So one of the questions that I hear most frequently is, well, if our property value is going up 30%, doesn't that mean your revenue is going up 30% as a district? The answer to that is no. Overwhelmingly no. And I'm going to talk here in a minute about House Bill 920. but that is the main reason that we don't see a very large increase in revenue. However, do we receive any additional revenue from the property value increase? And the answer to that is yes. We receive inside millage. We, along with other public entities in Montgomery County and in our area, the township, the city, Montgomery County itself, they all receive a portion of inside millage. Inside millage is a direct correlation in terms of whatever happens to the value. If the value increases, that tax does increase. If the value decreases, the tax decreases. And so it is a proportionate relationship there. We receive 5.25 inside mills. So we do receive more revenue. It's been factored into our 5-year forecast. That's been a part of our projections for several years as I've been watching throughout the state, counties going through reappraisals and seeing what's been happening. So we've been anticipating that. We also receive a small amount of additional revenue from new construction. New construction generates new revenue for the district as well.
Laura, going back to the inside millage, is that something that the community gets to vote on?
No.
How does that get on their tax bill?
The 10 mills total, we receive 5.25, but that total 10 mills is written into law. So that is one of the foundational pieces of the property tax system.
Thank you.
So what happens during reappraisal then with the voted levies? So I talked to you about the inside millage, which is unvoted. So what happens with all of the levies? And this is true for townships, for the city, for the parks, the county, any place that there is a voted levy. This happens. So House Bill 920, it was a law that was enacted in 1976, and the purpose of it is to protect taxpayers from receiving large increases on their tax bills when property values go up. Exactly what's happening now. And so the mills that were voted in by any public entity don't equal the effective mills. And the effective mills are what every taxpayer actually is paying tax on. So what is the effective millage? The effective millage, again, just to restate it, it's not the same as the voted millage. When property value goes up, the auditor automatically reduces the effective millage of each individual levy so that the school district or the township or the city or the park continues to receive the same amount of money that it was originally certified to receive. So when property values go up, the effective rate comes down, the public entity receives the same amount of revenue. The school district receives the same amount of revenue on all those voted levies. So I put a couple of examples up here for you to take a look at. The most recent levy that was passed by the district in 2019, the operating portion of that was a 5.9 mil voted levy. Today, that's collecting 5.16 mils. So again, property value increased in 2020 with the reappraisal that happened back then, and the effective rate of that levy was reduced so that we collect the same amount of money. To show a more extreme example, one that's been in place through many reappraisal cycles was in 1985. That was a 4.5 mil levy that is currently collecting at 1.98 mils.
So when the effective millage goes down, let's say 85, it's now 1.98, that does mean that the taxpayer is paying less on that original millage, correct?
Yes, because
Right.
there are more homes, there are reasons why that property value has gone up.
So even though we've had multiple levies, whatever the millage was, as this goes up, their taxes for those levies actually goes down in terms of what they're paying. The schools collect the same, but each person actually sees a decrease in the amount they were paying on that millage.
Well, it's going to be, on average, it's going to be close to the same because their value went up. So the value's
So the
higher.
inside mills is what makes it go
Yes.
up, which is not voted, which is done by the state, has nothing to do with us.
That's correct. And this slide gets a little bit into what, Dr. Rohr, you were just asking about in terms of, the up and down and who pays more and less. And so the reappraisal process does not affect each taxpayer the same. So as I mentioned, across Centerville, the value is going to increase about 30%. The residential amount of that is, as you can see on the slide, it was 32.2%. So think of three taxpayers. Taxpayer A, whose value increases more than the average, because again, 32% is the average. Taxpayer B, their value goes up the same as the average. And then there's taxpayer C, who actually goes up less than the average. So let's say 45% for taxpayer A, well above that average. Taxpayer B is average, and taxpayer C is 15%. So they still have an increase in value, but it's much lower than the average. So again, the key point here is that the auditor sets the effective rate based on the average. Everybody will pay the same effective rate. So if your home went up with the average, you're going to pay the same amount that you've been paying because the rate was reduced enough for the district to collect the same amount of money. If your value is like taxpayer A and it increases more than the average, you're going to see a tax increase on those voted levies because your value went up more than the average.
But it will not be, in this example, 45%.
No.
Correct.
No.
So it may be 2 or 3 or 5%.
3%,
Right.
5%.
So seeing 45%, 32, 15 does not mean
Correct.
that's the percentage your tax
Yes.
bill is going up. And that's important to understand.
It is. It is very important. So thank you for pointing that out.
And with all of the up and down of the effective mill and all of that, going back to that 2019 levy that was passed, if that was set, I mean, does anybody remember what that was certified to raise? I mean, let's say that was certified to raise $10 million at that time. It is still, regardless of how the individual homeowner's effective rate is going up or down or the property valuation is moving, the school is still receiving $10 million. And that's why all of those other numbers are moving in there to get us to that same end result.
Exactly, yes.
So whatever it is certified at, that's what we're getting.
That's correct.
Regardless of all these movements within individual homeowners.
Forever.
Forever.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. There will be people, if their property value increases or decreases significantly less than the average, they will see a tax decrease. We don't hear from those individuals, right? I mean, everybody wishes that their property taxes were decreasing. And so, but that's how that averaging piece works. It's like you mentioned, Mrs. Dernbaugh, it's kind of a fluctuation. And it's redistributing the tax share across the district based on where the homes are increasing at a higher percentage.
And the reason these are all going up is obviously because of the quality of our schools, right? I just want to make sure we understand that.
Right from the auditor's webpage, they have said that most individuals from the reappraisal process will experience a 4 to 6% increase from the reappraisal. And again, that information, this is all coming in some fashion from the county auditor's page on property reappraisal for 2023. So any questions on that piece?
No.
You can do this presentation for me. You've heard it a lot. So just to transition quickly to talk a little bit about our specific levy, I just want to say first that this information that's being presented is factual, and the district personnel are not allowed to advocate for or against the passage of a levy during times in which we're being compensated by the district. Issue 13 is on the November 7th ballot. It's a combination levy. It's one vote with two parts to that vote. 5.4 mils for operating expenses and a 0.5 mil for permanent improvement expenses. The levy is been certified by the county auditor to generate $12.9 million per year in additional revenue. The breakout of that between the operating and permanent improvement is $11.8 million for day-to-day operations and $1.1 million for permanent improvements, and this is per year. The cost to the taxpayer for a $100,000 home is approximately $17 per month. And this is based on the 2022 appraisal rates, the current rates that are in effect today, not the reappraised rates. So that's an important piece. Again, we've been certified based on today's rates.
So given that statement and the prior part of the presentation, even though it's on the ballot at 5.9 total mills, it will never collect 5.9 mills.
That's
Is that
correct. That's correct, which I'm going to talk about right here. And so that projected revenue for issue 13 from the Montgomery County Auditor's certification is $12.9 million. And so what happens to our revenue projections when the property value then increases next year? Nothing. Because of House Bill 920, because property values go up and effective rates come down, we will still collect $12.9 million, and the effective rate of that 5.9 mil levy will be something less than 5.9 mils. I don't know how much that will be today. We don't get that information until the values have been finalized in December. So I don't know what the effective rate, I could speculate and do some calculations, but the auditor will be the one to set that rate. But it will be a rate that is established to collect $12.9 million. And then finally, just to show, this is an actual screenshot right from the auditor's webpage, and I put a little yellow arrow there to the left to just stress that point again, that as a whole, and again, this is right from the auditor's website, as a whole, levies don't generate more taxes due to increases in value. So those voted levies collect the same amount of money. Any questions?
Thank you very much. And again, we encourage anyone that has questions to please call. Superintendent's reports.
So good evening. I'm going to pick up really right where Laura left off. She talked a lot about the numbers. I'd like to spend a little more time, again, some of the same information that we've been sharing for the last several months on how we plan to use the money moving forward from the additional money being generated from the levy. Laura just finished talking about, Laura just finished talking about the actual millage and how it's going to generate the amount of money for our operating funds to support our day-to-day operations, for our staff, classrooms, resources, and utilities, and the additional PI money that will obviously be used for our buildings and maintenance for the district. So a lot of questions that I've received over the last few months is how are we going to use the money as we move forward? So as election day nears, we continue to get the same question, what's the funding going to be used for? So I'd like to cover some of those areas again with all of you tonight. This includes the academic, social, and emotional programs as required by the state. It includes programming for nearly 30% of our students who are identified as gifted, and 13% who have special needs, and 400 plus of our students who are English learners. Our community expects us to provide a safe, healthy, and learning environment for our teachers and for our students. And we've talked a lot about providing that safe, healthy environment for our students. It's also providing that well-rounded co-curricular programming and extracurricular programming throughout the district. In addition, meeting the overall health and safety and wellness needs of students by providing more staff and counseling for school safety. One of the things that I've shared with the board and through some of my presentations in regards to the levy is that school safety and security is no longer just doors and windows. It's also about our staff. It's about having the extra resources, the eyes and ears to be able to work with our students. And it was a great opportunity tonight to get to meet our 5 SROs and the work that they do throughout the district. As you know, Centerville Schools currently employs 22 school counselors. We've added 2 of those positions going into this year, which has been a huge help for us meeting the needs of our students, especially in areas where we have a lot of students. I use the example of Watts. We've had 1 counselor there that's been working with 730 students approximately, and we've been able to add an extra counselor to help serve our students in that building. More of our students are facing challenges that affect how they learn, including special education needs, counseling services, and mental health issues, etc. So again, it's an opportunity to not only keep the district moving forward, but to sustain our operations in those areas. preparing students for a rapidly changing world and developing adaptability, communication, critical thinking skills, empathy, and tech literacy skills, which is all part of our Portrait of an Elk. So it's part of the strategic plan. It's one of the areas of our strategic plan. It's exciting that we brought in over 80 community members, staff, and students to be a part of the group that developed the Portrait of an Elk. And so our goal is to make sure that we have programs and competencies in place so that our students have the opportunity to meet these skills as they go through the school system. This is just one of the action plan items from our strategic plan, and we are using this to make decisions about programming and what types of experiences that we need to offer for our students moving forward. And we've talked a lot about expanding college and career pathways to support and build the workforce. We have a lot of courses that we offer, like over 220 courses for our regular and special education students. That includes advanced AP classes. We have 19 career education programs and 2 credentialing career programs. Recently, we've added 9 AP courses and 2 career credentialing programs that have been added to appeal to the larger group of students who have an interest in those areas. We continue to work closely with Sinclair Community College and with our industry partners to look at programs and what programs can be provided to our kids and to the district as we move forward. We talk a lot about attracting and retaining high-quality teachers and support staff. It continues to be an important focus for us as we move forward. We've looked at the 2023 report by Fordham Institute. The decline in licensed teachers in the state of Ohio indicates fewer younger people are entering the profession, which means it's harder for us to go out and recruit, retain, and keep high-quality teachers within the district. We've taken advantage of using grants to actually match up some of our mentors with college students from underrepresented racial and ethnic populations to help them towards their degrees who may have an interest in teaching. So again, an opportunity to use some of the grant money to help attract and sustain quality staff within the district. And we talked about facilities, implementing our facility maintenance and renovation projects throughout the district. We have several facilities, over 15 facilities, 1.3 million square feet of space. And you've heard the average age of our buildings in the district. And this is just a small portion, the 0.5 mil towards the PI will be used to help with those facilities. Tonight, Mr. Kogel will kind of take over and really represent some of the projects that we have moving forward, unless there's any questions for me from the board.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. So last week at the work session, I talked to you about the appropriations and how the money was spent from the fiscal year 2023. Again, that was from July 1st, 2022 until June 30th, 2023. I'm not going to go through and talk about all of those projects, but as we talked about, just over $4.1 million was spent from that PI budget during last year. That includes the business as well as the technology office. This does not include the encumbered money for projects that were not completed prior to June 30th or Centerville did not take delivery. And so the image there in Mr. Westing's last slide, the safety and security project, that one is continuing right now. Obviously, that money has not been paid forward. The Klein Playground was finished last week, but again, that was set forth in the last school year. And then the example that is probably used the most is the buses that were purchased. We have not received those yet, and so again, that money is still sitting out there. Some upcoming projects that we need to get completed here as part of the Centerville City Schools community. One of those is the CHS, the road to Clio, Dimco Way. As part of that project, we're responsible for what that will take on the CHS property. And so in order to make that happen, paving will take place, two-way traffic, we'll redo some curbs and some islands to make that straight-in parking. We'll have a drop-off zone in the athletic lot. There'll be additional signage, pick-up and drop-off lane, for students back by the football and baseball facility. And I'm currently working with an architect on that plan. If you've been here at arrival, at dismissal for games and events, you know how important it will be to make this happen. Just last week, we had a student with a medical issue trying to get EMS services in here at 2:45 when parents are here to pick up, cause the students in the building here to kind of do a stay put for a couple minutes until that ambulance could get in and out of here. Just having another access, another way in, another way out of this facility will be huge for CHS. Some additional upcoming projects. One of the ones that needs to be taken care of and kind of bring South Unit here where we're at up to speed is the ductwork and airflow. It's been an ongoing issue. The ductwork that is currently on the roof here has had some patchwork done to it to get that replaced. Again, back in 2015, 2016, the east and west unit were kind of redone. The airflow was redone. We've got the new HVAC system, but the ductwork that it runs through is not functioning properly. As part of that project, LED lights and ceiling tile, again, that will match the east and west unit. The price tag on that right now is about $800,000. In addition to that, as far as upcoming projects, as we move through and continue to hit playgrounds, Driscoll is next on the list, and so that's our plan for next summer as well. Some additional upcoming projects, the roof at Normandy and PVN, both are reaching the end of their lifespan. We're working on starting that process and looking at those numbers. But just to kind of give you an idea, Driscoll is a similar, just a little bit smaller, and it was $825,000 in order to complete that line or complete that roofing project. For CHS, the electrical line, you know the issues that caused back in last school year in the fall. We had multiple days without school due to that power line. We've got 3 additional of those power lines that need to be upgraded, that need to be taken care of, 1 to east, 1 to west, and 1 into central. Price tag was $180 for the stadium line. Again, those runs are not as long, but again, an issue that needs to be corrected and taken care of just to prevent any further issues coming forward. Some additional upcoming projects, boilers at Driscoll, Normandy, and CHS in the back gym. Again, these are all listed as part of the facility assessment. These are not items that either myself or Mark Dom or anybody is just kind of making up. We're using information that's been provided to us on what needs to be done and in what order. But Weller and John Hole were just replaced at a price of $282,000 and $211,000. And again, so we've got 3 additional boilers that need to be looked at. Turf fields, alumni, soccer, and lacrosse, and football are starting to reach the end of their lifespan. Alumni field for the soccer and lacrosse are items that will need to be adjusted and taken care of first prior to the football stadium, but there's the price tag on that. As part of that, the athletic department has been paying into a fund that will offset those costs. Some additional projects. There's a stadium light issue at CHS. Not only is the efficiency and there's better technology that's out there as well, but we've had an ongoing issue back a few years into Mr. Wesley's time with the northeast light pole that has moved and shifted. We've done work to make sure that was mounted and would stay in place, but it's an item that needs to be adjusted, and we received an estimate on that project this fall for $735,000. Last but not least, Magzig Middle School, again, as mentioned, is 100 years old, has a variety of needs, and we've discussed in a number of times the HVAC there of about $4.5 million is the estimate for that, which is the entire amount of the PI budget for one collection. Restrooms throughout the district, again, need to be upgraded. As I go around and I meet with principals about their building, looking at items that need to be taken care of, We did get an estimate for here at Centerville High School for 6 single-stall restrooms for $80,000. And looking at the facility assessment for Centerville High School, that was listed as an item that needed to be corrected in 1 to 5 years, or need to be addressed in 1 to 5 years. The estimate that Levin Porter put on that a few years ago was $1.4 million for Centerville High School alone, not including any other buildings, but just for Centerville High School for the restrooms. HVAC in the buildings as part of the 2005 bond was placed in all the elementary schools, and so we're approaching 20 years of life on all of that equipment. Exterior lighting throughout the district is an item that we need to be addressed as well. As part of it, this question has come up to the business office as well as to Mr. Westney and Laura in the treasurer's office, the athletic complex that we discussed last spring about trying to kick off a campaign in order to raise money. No PI or general fund money is going to be used for the construction of this. In order for this to be constructed, it must be privately funded. We've got to get those outside donations in order to come in order for this project to happen, in order for this project to be fulfilled. So Boosters has received donations, but we have yet to reach kind of phase one of that, the $4.5 million that we needed to raise to start phase one. We have not reached that point yet. We've made some donations and we've made some movement, but we have not reached that point. And so we've set a tentative deadline of December. If we don't reach that point by that point, then we'll look at moving on from this project. So questions about last week's presentation on the money or this week on some future projects?
Yeah, one of the things we've been reading about the athletic complex, people are starting to understand that it's not going to be paid by taxpayer dollars, but the question is, what about the upkeep, maintenance, and ongoing costs? Will the taxpayers have to bear the burden of that?
We believe that most of that cost will be offset by rental fees. There's the youth organizations throughout the community. I know some local colleges, et cetera, have already expressed interest in wanting to use that facility when Centerville High School students, which would again have first priority to it, would not be using it. And so we believe that a good portion of those costs would be offset by those rental fees.
And just to restate, if we don't reach our goal by December, this is basically going to be put aside for now, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so it may not happen.
Correct. Okay. As of right now, again, we've kind of have a phase one, phase two, and had a plan to hopefully kick in, roll that out all together. But unfortunately, we have not had the support that we thought we would.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that's the end of those reports. Next, we'll do treasurer's recommendations. Consider approving the September 23rd financial statements, the monthly general fund rolling report, monthly cash reconciliation, monthly fund activity report, then and now purchase orders approved by administration, certified by the treasurer, and supported by board resolution totaling $49,730.35.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Schroyer?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes. Next, consider approving the minutes of the following Board of Education meetings, September 26th and October 16th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Schroyer?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes. Next, consider approving a 0% increase to health insurance premiums for calendar year 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Could we have some comment on that and try to explain also to the public why we're doing this and this cost savings and what we've saved in terms of ongoing expenses for quite some time?
Yes, this is a yearly process that we go through. We've been in meetings with McGowan Braybender, who is our insurance consultant on our self-insurance fund. We've been in meetings with them since February. About every other month we meet. We had a pre-renewal meeting in August and then a final renewal meeting in September. Our cash reserves have increased over the last couple of years. And so because of that increase and because we have that reserve fund there, we feel that we can, their initial renewal proposal was a 2% increase, but because we have that healthy reserve balance, we have opted as a district to recommend to you, the board, that we freeze rates for 2024 for health insurance.
Can you also maybe, I don't know if you can, but can you give an idea of how much we, by doing this self-funding, not we, but how much money we have saved by going to self-funding versus what we used to be paying by doing this? So even though we say a 0%, a lot of that is because we have been saving so much. So do you have any idea? I mean, I think we've saved, John, would you guess millions?
Oh, millions, absolutely.
Millions of dollars
We've been doing this for a while
by going
now.
to self-funding versus paying and going out and getting health insurance. So it's important for the public to know, even though they see this thinking, oh, well, 0%, but again, it's because of good administrative, good use of the dollars and going self-funding that we're able to do this. That saves, our entire staff significant amount of money. So
This is a 0% increase. It isn't a 0% cost to
Correct.
the employee.
It's a rate freeze.
It's a rate
Right.
freeze.
Yes, the costs for 2024 will be the same costs for premiums than they were in 2023.
Okay, next, superintendent, vote on it, I'm sorry. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Schroyer?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes. Next, superintendent recommendations. Superintendent recommends accepting resignation as listed on Schedule A, recommends the employment, change of employment status, or change of contract status for the certificated personnel listed on Schedule B for the salaries, programs, and on the effective dates given. Recommends the employment or change of employment status for the support staff personnel listed on Schedule C for the salaries, programs, and on the effective dates given. Superintendent recommends the employment of the personnel listed on Schedules D and D1 for supplemental contracts or extra duty assignments. Superintendent recommends the granting of leaves of absence for the personnel listed on Schedule E for the reasons and on the effective dates given.
So moved.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Schroyer?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes. Next, superintendent recommends the employment of the personnel listed on Schedule D2 for supplemental contracts or extra duty assignments.
So moved?
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Abstain.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Schroyer?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes. Next, superintendent recommends the employment of the personnel listed on Schedule D3 for supplemental contracts or extra duty assignments.
So moved.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Abstain?
Mr. Schroyer?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes. Next, consider approving the 2024 Board of Education meeting dates as previously discussed.
So moved?
Second.
Question? I know Megan had some,
I had conflicts in January and February when we moved the work session from a Monday to a Tuesday. So I talked to Dave and he didn't know if we could do it the second Monday of the month or if we could move it to that Wednesday.
Wednesday's like the issue.
About the second Monday of the
I know moving it up an extra week doesn't give you a lot of time, but it, rather than making, have some miss. Just the work session,
To move the work session to the second Monday.
instead of the third Monday
Instead of the third Monday.
in
I'm not available.
January and February. Is that okay?
Yeah, that looks fine to me.
Jen? Is that okay with you?
Laura can't make it.
I can't be here on those nights,
On Wednesdays?
on
On the
Mondays.
second.
On the second. Oh, that's right, you're at some other job, which you shouldn't be at.
Could Mr. Miller fill in? Do we know?
What about moving it to the Wednesday after, that week? You can't, that's not
The third
good.
Wednesday is gonna be a
Ju-
difficult one
We'll,
for me.
we'll work it out.
Sure.
Yeah. Yep.
So to confirm, we're looking at Monday, January the 8th. Is that the date we were looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
And February.
And in February also.
one.
And that would still be at 6:30.
Yeah. You sure that's okay? All right. All right, call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
So this is as amended.
As amended, correct.
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Schroyer?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes. Next, final comments regarding past or old business from the Board of Education. Anyone? No. Seeing nothing, the next would be a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Dernbaugh?
Yes.
Mr. Schroeder?
Yes.
Megan Sparks?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes, thank you all for coming.